Genesis, man and a woman. And what God has established, what God has defined, no legislature, not even the New York State legislature, has the right to redefine. God said that's what marriage is. It always has been. It always will be. It is not a civil right either. They like to say that. And so I like, when they fill that up, I like to bring in some of our African American friends and say, address the civil rights issue. I can talk about it and I can say the same thing they say, but I didn't experience it. So it doesn't have the impact, but one of them has an impact. And so that's what we try. It's not a civil right. A civil right relates to things unique about you that you had no choice in, that you can't do anything about. You can't change. Homosexuals can change. I know lots of homosexuals that have come out of the movement. Lots of them. Many of them have married and have families now. I've been to conferences of counselors to help homosexuals come out from the movement. And the homosexual community hates those meetings so bad that we have to hold them in secret. We have to have armed guards present to protect those of us attending the conference to deal with it. What a shame. We had one recently in Washington, D.C., and I was riding the subway to get to my hotel. And the guard says, you're not going by yourself. We'll take you down to the subway and see you get on the train before we leave your side. That's how bad it is. Because they know we got the truth. They know that through Jesus Christ, anybody can be cured of whatever they got. I know a number of homosexuals that are nice people, and they're not pushing the marriage. In fact, I've asked them, and in fact, actually yesterday in my home church, I was talking to a police officer, and he was telling me there are several police officers that are homosexuals. And he said he was talking to them recently about the marriage thing, and they said, we don't want it. We don't want to get married. We don't want that accountability, that responsibility. So it's not all the homosexuals that want it. It's a small group of activists that are very vocal, and they're what's driving it. They want what they call equality. So you'll hear a lot of legislators use the term equality in marriage. No, they just bought into the homosexual agenda is what they just did when they use that term. It's not an equality type thing. Another argument that we address is same-sex marriage is consistent with the purposes behind the legal recognition of marriage. And so that's a false myth as well. Then they say legalizing same-sex marriage would benefit those who engage in, legalizing same-sex marriage would benefit those who engage in same-sex relations, and by extension the state of New York. No, it won't. New York will not benefit by this at all. In fact, it will be much worse. You see, there are a lot of health consequences related to homosexual lifestyle. Homosexuals have shorter lifespans. They have more diseases. They have more claims for medical and those kinds of things. I've read some reports from insurance people, and I understand, that they would like to risk rate anyone that's a homosexual, because they claim that not only do they have more claims, but the claims are usually larger in quantity, in cost. But here's one I can't explain. Most of them I can't explain because of the health thing. They claim that homosexuals have 25% more automobile accidents than heterosexuals. Now, that one I haven't figured out. If somebody got an answer, let me know. Why do they have so many more automobile accidents? I wouldn't think it had anything to do with it, but it does. They say that's just a fact. So it will be costly to the state. It'll be costly to you and I. There's legislation in Albany right now that says you can't risk rate people on insurance policies. Well, guess what? Last time I checked, insurance companies were in the business of making money, making a profit. So if they can't charge people who have more claims higher rates, like drunk drivers, then they're going to have to raise everybody's premiums to make enough money so they got a profit. So we're all going to pay. I think they ought to continue risk rating, but they're trying to stop that. All right, opponents of same-sex marriage are narrow-minded bigots. Let's talk about us. We're narrow-minded bigots who seek to force their morality and their religion views on everyone else. Their beliefs have no place in discussion about same-sex marriage. Yes, it does. Because we who profess to be Christians, we believe the Bible. And the Bible talks about the homosexual lifestyle, how it's wrong, it's sinful, and we shouldn't be doing that. And so we're just following what God says. We're the children of God, and we're doing what He says. So, they're all wrong there. If they want to live together, let them live together. But we don't have to give it recognition. We don't have to pay it benefits. For instance, I've said several times, there's a lot of heterosexual couples that are sinful too. Shacking up. I mean, that's kind of common now. Even in Christian circles, I hate to say. Shack-ups. I don't see them up in Albany demanding and protesting and wanting benefits for their shack-up partner. But the homosexuals do. What's the difference? Another argument here. Making same-sex marriage legal is a live and let live idea that would not result in unintended negative consequences for anyone. Yes, it does. It will impact future generations, what they're taught, what they will accept as normal behavior and lifestyle. So it does have consequences. And then also, I've had a number of people come to me that were married, heterosexual couples, and one of them will come to me and say, my spouse became gay and left me. So it does affect existing marriages. A lot of people say, well, I got a strong marriage, it won't affect mine. Are you sure of that? Because as homosexuality is more common, and it will be if this marriage thing goes through, it will be more common in our society, our culture. And then people will start getting some crazy ideas. Well, it's all right, maybe I ought to try. A little sin, you kind of like it, well, do a little more, and first thing we know, we got marriages falling apart that were at one time good, solid marriages. It breaks my heart for people come up to me and say, my spouse left me for another same-sex partner. We got one legislator, and it just breaks her heart. She's talked to me frequently about it. She's divorced now and has been for a number of years, but her husband left her many years ago for a man. And it's happening, and it will happen in your churches too. Our churches are not immune. Another one of the false arguments is legalizing same-sex marriage would not place anyone's religious liberties in jeopardy. Oh yeah? Well, the attorney just before me, he addressed some of it. You see, I emphasize that the bill only exempts clergy. There are Christians that aren't part of the clergy. Our churches are full of them. What if they're in business and they want to run their business based on biblical values? They want to run it as a Christian business. This will interfere with that. He talked about the photographer. I think it was out in San Diego. Refused to do a lesbian wedding. They were sued, and the state said, you've got to do it. You can't discriminate. We've got a flower shop, I think it was in Arizona or New Mexico, one of those states, the same type thing. Lesbians come and wanted to contract for flowers for their wedding. And when the couple found out it was a lesbian wedding, they said, no, we won't do that. Went to court and they lost. You see, they will be forced to do these things. What if you own a Christian business and you provide benefits to your employees and you happen to hire a homosexual, whether you knew they were homosexual or not, doesn't make any difference. But you hired them, they could do the job, and then all of a sudden after you've hired them, they say, by the way, I'm homosexual and I want the same benefits as the rest of the employees. You got to give it to them. Even though it may be against your faith, your value system. You have no choice. So we will be forced into it. A lot of Christian ministries will have difficulty staying open. Children's camps, I mentioned, nursing homes, all kinds of outreach ministries that many churches have. They're going to get hit. We've already heard about one or two incidents with the Catholic Church where they had orphanage, or not orphanage, but adoption services and various others where they were forced to close. We just had one in the last month in New York closed. This was a adoption agency from out of state, but they have branches in